All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. Once again, it's the brother Shatir from the Chicago camp, coming back to you with what I hope is another quick and edifying sit down. And as you can see on here, this is on RT America, and it's explaining how 100 million Capital One accounts hacked. And this is another incident in a long line of situations that, how should I word this, that are going to be used to promote why the RFID chip is now the best and most secure way for people to do transactions, because people's accounts are constantly getting hacked. And that brings me to a precept. Let me do it this way. Because this is merely a tactic in Corinthians, I know it is. 2 Corinthians 2:11. And it says, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. As I said before, this is another situation in a long line of incidences that have happened here, not only in the United States, but across the world, with people's accounts getting hacked. And every time these accounts get hacked, somebody's always, some analyst or some person that deals with cybersecurity, who claims to be an expert, is always getting on the media saying, we need something that's more secure, something more tangible that hackers can't get into. And all of this is a ploy to promote the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. So without further ado, we're going to play this video, get some precepts, and close it on out.
Story that's coming into us right now, and this is somewhat alarming. If you are one of 100 million Americans who has some type of account, maybe a credit card, maybe you filled out an application for a credit card with Capital One, you have been hacked. As a matter of fact, it's not just in the United States, it's also in apparently parts of Canada as well. Again, this is a breaking news story. I think what you just saw there was Michelle Greenstein's joining us now. She's come back after the other story you did earlier for us on Huawei. You're doing double duty tonight, by the way.
Yes, sir.
To bring us the very latest on what's going on with this Capital One story. So what have you learned?
Sure. So Capital One has announced that a hacker has accessed about 106 million credit card applications. We have about 80,000 bank account numbers that have been compromised and 140,000 social security numbers that have been exposed as well. Now today, the FBI actually arrested a Seattle woman named Paige Thompson, and federal prosecutors say it was she who broke into these servers that Capital One had rented from a cloud computing company. Now, the cloud computing company is not named in the court documents. However, we do know that Thompson is a former employee of Amazon Web Services.
You know, as I look at this, I'm wondering how it is that one person, just not being a tech guy, could have accessed all this. And I also read moments ago, correct me if I'm wrong, that this person was actually bragging about their exploits on social media. Is that true?
That is true, and that may be why they were able to make an arrest so quickly. And to your other point, some may even say that this case is an example about maybe one of the dangers of cloud computing and how securing your data may fall lower on the list of priorities from a business than making money off of you. Now, federal prosecutors say that this theft occurred occurred between March and July of this year, although Capital One only found out on July 19th, so quite recently. Although Capital One stresses that no credit card numbers were compromised, no login credentials were exposed, and that an internal investigation is underway. Now, this hack is expected to cost the company at least $100 million, and Capital One chairman and CEO actually released this statement today. Let's take a listen to what he had to say. He said, "I sincerely apologize for the understandable worry that this incident must be causing those affected, and I am committed to making this right."
Thank you for making sense of that quote that came up a little while ago. I wasn't sure what we were getting up. Do we know anything about this person, by the way?
Well, we do, the hacker.
By the way,
Sure.
before you report anything, but for those of you watching us and not watching CNN or MSNBC or any of the other networks, they're probably telling you right now that she's got connections to the Kremlin. Am I wrong?
I didn't see any coverage saying that, but I haven't seen it. Maybe.
Have you ever seen a story about hacking without somebody in the U.S. media saying it's the Russians?
Right. I mean, maybe this story is getting a lot of traction, as it should be, because there's one easy target. There's one person being accused. It's very easy to tell this story, right? But sometimes the systemic breach of our data or like our data collection goes a little bit less unnoticed when it's, institutionalized. But according to Thompson's court records, you asked the question, what do we know about her? Well, we know that her court hearing is scheduled for Thursday. And according to Bloomberg, in court today, she actually broke down, apparently, and laid her head down on the table during her hearing. Now, in terms of what she's charged with...
But the reason I'm asking the question is, and I'd love to find out, and I'm sure we probably don't know the answer to this question yet, but I would love to know at some point. There are people who do these types of things because they're trying to make a statement. In other words, these greedy SOBs, I'm going to go after them, I'm going to show them, and I'm really smart, and I'm going to take them down. And there are people who do this because they're greedy and they really want to use other people's social security numbers to make millions of dollars.
Just because they can, right.
Which one is she? We don't know.
There's no definitive information about what her motives may have been yet. We do know that she's been charged with a single charge of computer fraud and abuse, and she faces the maximum penalty of $250,000 as a fine.
When we look at
Okay. Now, according to them, it could be somebody who's greedy or it could be somebody who's disgruntled. There's nothing that's clear if what they're saying is true about this story, if it indeed is only one person. But as you heard earlier in the brief news segment, they're bringing up data security. How is this going to affect data security? This tactic is getting really old. Everybody knows, well, I won't say everybody, but many people are starting to realize that all these cyber attacks, these bank account hacks, it's all just a tool to implement the mark of the beast. Because the more they keep doing it, the more people will jump on board to say, hey, you know what? These folks might be on to something. Hey, let's get this chip. Let's continue.
Like this. Do we know how often it is a person or group of persons versus an institution, a nation state, a group? Have you looked into the whole hacking thing that seems to be in the news all the time now?
Well, let's remember that this is just days after the settlement that came from the Equifax data breach, and that's a breach that affected 147 million U.S. citizens. So you may be able to say that this is something that's becoming more common as we start relying on what's called the cloud for a lot of our computing. It's possible, though, that the single actors like that you're speaking of get a bit more media attention when they hack something than organizations do.
Shouldn't we be worried, though, that a company like Capital One is saying, it's going to cost us $100 million to get this right? The fact that you could just throw out $100 million to get something right about a problem like this means that maybe this particular model that we're using is suspect, right?
I mean, I think that's a great point. It's always the case in a profit-based system that you're going to make decisions based on profit. So if securing your data falls lower on the list of priorities than making money from you, then that's the way it's going to go. And this company is definitely going to face a fine, just like Equifax had to pay out some money. But ultimately, we may not see any structural structural changes to how our data is being kept secure or not secure unless it becomes profitable to make those structural changes.
Because what you're saying is, in these cases, it's already cooked into the soup. That's a problem. Great report. Thank you for the break.
So basically, they're saying that these rich people are allowing, I shouldn't say allowing, but they're not too concerned about their companies getting hacked and fixing the situation as long as they can make a profit. Okay? And that's super wicked. But then again, we are in bad Uncle Esau's kingdom, because this situation plays out twofold. Okay, one, they're going to make money, and two, as I said before, they're going to use this opportunity to bring forth the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast. So let's get some scripture and close it out. Did I spell that right? No. Okay, this is Psalm 35:20. It says, "For they speak not peace, but they devise deceitful matters against them that are quiet in the land." All right. You just heard him say, you know, how can a man just sit up there and say, oh, it's going to cost us $100 million to fix it? It's like, you talk about $100 million, like, the average person will be like, oh, well, this bag of chips only costs $1. I'm cool. I can do that. Okay? But in reality, as I said before, they're devising a plan to implement this RFID chip, because the world is set and ready and prepared to get it, because you see it in everything. You see it in movies, you see it in magazines, you see it in music videos, you hear about it in books, television shows. It's everywhere. It's prevalent in the minds for people to see and accept now. And with all these hacking incidents that are taking place, folks' minds are now prepared to say, hey, you know what? Maybe we do need more security. Okay? This is Proverbs 11:18. It says, "The wicked worketh a deceitful work, but to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward." Because you better believe whoever this president and CEO is of Capital One is, who's ever in charge of the security, all right, they know what's going on. They absolutely know what's going on. But are they going to bring that to the forefront? No. You have to ask yourself, what does a person gain, or what will a person gain by having all their cloud information hacked and just saying, you know what, it's easier for them to just hack it and then pay a fine or whatever and then be done with it. Amen. There's a bigger scheme involved. But it says, but to him that soweth righteousness shall be a sure reward. All right, because if this so-called godly man, bad Uncle Esau, was righteous, okay, he would make the people whole. All right, in the law, doesn't it say when, roughly paraphrasing, that when a man loses a possession, whatever it is, that they have to be made whole. It doesn't matter if you're responsible for that man losing a cow or a chicken, or in modern day sense, a car, some money, some clothes. Hey, the law says you have to make that man whole. Pay what you owe. Now, will these people get paid back? I don't know. But the fact still remains that this company got hacked. And these incidences are now happening way too often, with much frequency, at a greater rate. And as I said before, this is merely going to be a tool for people to co-sign using the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, for security and financial reasons. That's all it is for. So that's all I wanted to say on this. I hope you all were edified. Once again, giving all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle elders of Great Millstone who rule well. And salutations to all you brothers out there pushing this word in love, truth, sincerity, and humility. With that, we're going to say Shalom.